Let's go. We got to start. All right. And welcome back to the Dean Obeidallah Show. It's Friday, November 21st, third hour on Friday. I'm contractually obligated to do this segment called What Just Happened? And look who's back. Lizz Winstead and Pete Dominick, because there's clearly no variety in our booking abilities at this network. Lizz Winstead, comedian, co-creator of The Daily Show, activist, a great friend of mine, creator of the Abortion Access Front, and host of the podcast Feminist Buzzkills, and it's always great to see you, Liz. Of course, I'm kidding. I'm so happy you're here.
So you're kidding? It's great to see me. Great.
It is great to see you.
Kicking it off terrifically, Dean. Thank you. Good to be here.
And look who else is here. Whenever I turn my Zoom on, he's here. I don't
America's little brother.
Pete's in every episode of everything I do. I turn on Zoom and it's Pete Dominick, podcaster, stand-up comic, speaker, news commentator, dad, journalist, activist. This is all from his website. And host, of course, of Stand Up with Pete Dominick, which you should subscribe to. It's a great podcast. I've been on it. Honored to be on it many times in the past. Pete, good to see you.
Dean, it is always so great to see you. It's also great to see America's big sister and leader and someone who I consider comedy royalty, as well as activist royalty, as well as someone that has always spurned my advances.
Well, all right.
You made advances? Dude, you got to get better game. I never recognized a single advance. Not that I wouldn't have spurned it, but...
It's good that you would have spurned it, just for clarity.
But I just didn't even recognize any of our interactions as advances.
Now, I've always kept it professional with Liz, but not today.
Hello, the gloves are off.
Let's talk to Pete. Let's make this a manosphere show where we just hang. Pete, so are you dating now? What's going on? We're going to talk about topics.
I'm not going to talk about my personal life post separation on your show, because
are you divorced? Are you done legally, or are you legally there's still an entanglement?
We're just separated.
Oh, okay,
we have a great relationship. It's actually, I probably should talk about it a lot more, because we definitely went through the whole barrel. We had all the ups and downs, and we're getting along very good.
Oh, good.
So yeah.
All right, good. Well, if it doesn't work out, of course, I am available for your,
She already said that she's been talking to you, so that's cool. I wish you the best.
She is a fan. Liz, she's been a longtime fan of me when I was going to Pete's show.
That's right.
Sincerely, he would say this. So I'm very happy. I've got my hand.
JD Vance.
JD Vance.
Horning in on somebody who is newly single.
He also, by the way,
very awkward way.
My mom says the same things about Dean, so he may date her. My dad would be upset.
Let's talk about the first topic. Much more comfortable, the Epstein files. Epstein files. So it went from Trump saying you're a loser, a weakling, a traitor if you're going to vote for it, and it's a hoax. So like everyone vote for it. Everybody, you got to all vote for it, and I'm going to sign it right away. And what do you think really happened? And let me throw something out there. Do you think, Liz, I'll start with you. The election 2 weeks ago where Democrats trounced Republicans nationwide played a role in this? Or do you think just enough Republicans came to go like, we're going to vote for this, so it's going to be really embarrassing for you to continue to fight it?
I think they saw the reaction to, again, when politicians can't control the narrative, like the Epstein estate releasing emails, and the public was reacting profoundly. I think that the Republicans could no longer stay silent. And I think that Trump, in never wanting to lose, just does a gaslight where it's like, of course you should all sign it, but also give me enough time to redact what needs to come out of the actual Epstein files. And I think, the thing that's going to be very interesting to see in the wash is, because I'm somebody who just firmly believes that people who have been giving massive amounts of money to both parties, but mostly Republicans, are listed in the Epstein files. So I feel like the money train is about to be caught in a pedophilia ring that is not awesome.
Pete, you were friends with Jeffrey Epstein. What can you share?
We were, and I'll tell you,
he was Jeffrey Epstein's little brother. Like I said, everybody.
Let me just say, I had no idea what was going on. We were mostly just golf buddies. Never went to the house. Did go to the island, but we just golfed.
Was your favorite hole the 14th?
Oh,
Oh,
oh
I'll be
no.
here
That
all
is
week with
not.
terrible jokes about underage rape.
It's not like it was the eighth.
Exactly. Very big difference
Right.
between the eighth
And the
hole and the
sixth
15th
hole
hole.
would be even worse. I know what you're getting now. You guys are clever.
I think the question you asked had something to do with, the strategy and how Trump was all over the place.
Right.
And I've been thinking about how to respond and how to think about this and how to ask guests on my show about this. And it's like it's all been said. We all know exactly what's going on. So I just want to come back to one of the earliest points made and remind myself of it, I guess. This guy is real dumb. He's real dumb, and he does very impulsive. He doesn't plan things out. And people then say, well, how did he get elected? I would say because the electorate, I'll just be completely, I guess I'm over it, is dumber. The people who voted for him are dumber than he is. He's just a salesman. He says things to get things done and sold today. But anybody who ever buys any of his products or goes into business with him or votes for him or works for him, they all find out eventually just how dumb he is. This Epstein Files thing and the way he played it is the best evidence of the point I'm making, because he's never planning ahead more than a day. And he just goes wherever the wind takes and he tries to affect it. But a lot of it is just stupidity. And we find that out and we just never come to that conclusion, because you have to think, well, he couldn't, how was he planning? He's just dumb.
He's just
And
dumb.
I think too, like to your point, Pete, like, and this might sound like a real out there analogy, but have y'all ever been like fooled by what you've been targeted by on social media, a product that you bought or something that you're smart and you're smarter than buying that product? And I think that the mentality that we have as humans, I think that understanding the kind of bill of goods you can sell somebody who has a need for something is very real. And that analogy to me, like I can't tell you how many exercise videos I have saved in my Instagram that I'm never doing, or how many recipes I'm doing that I'm never cooking, or a thing I bought that I was positive was not a Chinese made product, that it was going to be trash, until I tried to return it. And Carla's jewelry turns out isn't made by Carla. It's made, and so I
Right.
think when you look at how humans are predisposed to get fooled, dumb people and smart people both, I think, can get fooled by if somebody presents you a shiny thing that you want and
The
it turns
first
out to be
time, though.
trash.
I fully agree with your analogy, and you're humanizing the people I call dumb. But I'm just going to argue again. The first time you buy that piece of shit and find out that it's shitty, you don't go back and buy it again. Like I just don't.
True.
Yeah, but I did join the Megyn Kelly fan club twice. Like I thought the
Okay,
second
that's
time,
your
the VIP membership to the club got inside access. I
yeah,
get to have a chat with her weekly. The first time was
right.
my bad, right? Her bad. Second time, Pete.
Yeah, no. I mean,
But I sometimes I think, Pete, it's not just about Trump as much as it is about you might not buy that same product again, like first time. But is there somebody
A
in the
knockoff.
orbit that seems kind of saying, oh, maybe that person's going to talk sense into him, or whatever it is? So I feel like there's so many like
I think you listen
cheaply
to.
made trinkets that he surrounds himself with, that almost anybody could be fooled by his bullshit
I
and,
think
and the
those.
bullshit of his people.
I think those that's a perfect analysis. I think those trinkets would be their favorite right wing talker. So what happens is, I just had this with someone recently, and they start telling you all of their arguments, and you debunk them, and politely. It was a fine conversation. I was like, well, but it was ridiculous what was being said.
Right.
But then they go back to that source, that well. No matter what we try to do to reason with people, in this case, point out how stupid, how clearly it is that this guy was best friends with the worst pedophile ever. And that guy, the worst pedophile ever, said that Trump apparently was the most evil person he knew, which says a lot about who he is.
Yeah.
So people fall for it because of whatever source they are listening to, that they come back to that person. And Mark Levin was one of the most effective, which is why I love this neo-Nazi. Nick Fuentes is taking him down because they're all setting each other on fire. But this Epstein thing is the thing they were all led to. And I think a lot of them, including like that freaking MMA guy, like who's dumb as stones, but apparently a great fighter, is like, I got duped. Fuck that. This Epstein thing is where I draw the line.
But Pete, one thing that you just brought up here, the idea now all of a sudden on the right, they're like, what? There are neo-Nazis and people who like Nazis on our side? No one ever said that. We all knew this bullshit. Like, I don't know what lit this new fire, all this. Tucker Carlson having a conversation with Nick Fuentes. Could that be really the spark? They all knew what was in there. And it's really hard to,
I mean, it's just like they're Charlottesville, that we give endlessly lists
right, so I don't
where
get
Nazis
this.
are there and out there and walking, and the Nazism and white supremacy within Christian national. It's like
they vote.
Yeah.
So they're not denouncing them. They're denouncing them, but not so harshly. They're not admitting what they believe. Those people vote for them. I call it this Fuentes split. I'm calling it like what's happening with MAGA right now. Hoods off. Because
hoods off. I like that. That was like a Daily Show type of thing. Hoods off. Yeah, but look, when Laura Loomer is calling out the anti-hate, the hate of them, when Laura Loomer is the biggest trafficker of hate against Muslims and against anyone but Muslims for years and years and years, I'm like, you need a better messenger, because I can't have any sympathy for her. I can't have sympathy for the message. There should be no place for anti-Jewish hate. So that's different. But when this is so horrible. A part of me is like, I hope you enjoy the pain, but at the same time, I have too many friends who are Jewish, who are great people, that I don't want the anti-Semites to get more power. But they are going, that's the future is Nick Fuentes, not Mark Levin for the Republican Party. That's where it's going. I mean, I don't know how these parties don't move back. The trajectory of a right-wing fascist party is either it destroys, it's gone, like the Nazi party's gone, Mussolini's party's gone, or they continue down this further and further extreme road.
I think part joke, part serious, anti-Muslim hate is a lot more acceptable because of, 9/11, which forces me to crowbar in another topic I know you want to talk about, which is that our president invited the Saudi crown prince over. 9/11 families not too happy. Laura Loomer not too happy because they hate Muslims so much that he can't convince them that the Muslims are good or that we should be dealing with them or whatever. I know Liz loves.
It's Muslim week at the White House because Zoran's there as well. Zoran Mondani today, MBS. I'm there Saturday. I didn't announce this until now. Of course, I'm hanging out with.
That is a spectrum. You're having the crown prince, price chopper, and then you're having Zoran, and also it's the level of, again, going back and watching, and I'm never been the biggest Hillary fan, but going back and watching that debate between Trump and Hillary, when he literally, without taking a breath, berated her about how much money she took from the Saudis. How dare she? They are sexist. They hate women. Their policies are to start war. Blah, blah, blah. Will you give the money back? As though it was us, right? Saying to Hillary. And then to go cut it to, I've got a plane from Qatar and I've got all this shit, and I don't care how much money we put into Yemen and what they do to the Yemenis and what they've done to the women.
Well, cut to Jared.
Cut to Jared.
That's what was
over
incompetent Jared, who
the
just
Saudis became real good friends to the Trump family when Jared got $2 billion from them. By the way, Dean, did you notice that Liz didn't really say anything negative about MBS? Clearly, she is angling for a spot on next year's Riyadh Comedy Fest. We saw it. We saw what you did.
Look,
you know what, Dean? Look. Why are we so hard on these guys that went to Riyadh? They're just, they got to say whatever they were told to say, and they felt really good about that. I'm very proud of
I performed in Saudi years ago. I performed because I had produced a comedy festival in Jordan for 3 years, and I performed in Saudi. I opened for a beheading. Rough crowd. They weren't there to laugh, and I did before. I performed with Russell Peters, with Gabriel Iglesias in Saudi, and then once with Aaron Cater. I'm not sure if you guys know Aaron. I think Pete knows.
I know Aaron. Did you take that sweet Saudi government cash?
No, it wasn't from the government. It was a private show.
Uh,
That way, this is when Maz Jobrani. This was the early days when it
Oz
was
was
innocent,
there.
and we were pioneers of comedy. Like, what is this comedy you speak of? You go on stage and people laugh. You're a witch, and they're like, no, no, it's comedy. And they're like, oh, okay. And then they're like, we can make money off this. And then the Saudis like, yeah, we can. And across the Arab world, Dubai was like, at first, when we did our first shows in Dubai with Axis of Evil with me and Ahmed and we literally had to write our jokes out like a script and submit it in advance. Then after a few years later, they're like, we can make a lot of, this is a tourist attraction. They didn't care what comic, what their background was. Bring them in. They're a big name. They'll sell out a big venue in Dubai. It's good for the brand. So Saudi learned from Dubai and others in the Middle East. You can, you can get people to come over and like you because you have the Kevin Hart, for example, there or something.
By the way, you should still have to write out your jokes and submit them in advance.
It'd be the same jokes from 15 years ago. There's the same jokes. I'm like, I know. I gotta write new material. By the way, you talk about Zoran and the spectrum. One of the most annoying things is I was on podcasts with people who are on my side, like after the election when Zoran, they go, what's it like? You live in New York to go from 9/11 in the same city 9/11 happens to Zoran winning. I'm like, what is the connection between Muslim Americans and 9/11? But they weren't being in a bad way. They were like my friend. They thought this was a good thing. I'm like, you got to detach the two. We had nothing to do with 9/11. Zoran had nothing to do with 9/11. American Muslims had nothing to do. This was a terrorist attack by people with a political agenda.
From
But
where, From where?
Most of the hijackers are from Saudi. It was funded by Saudis.
Yeah.
And bin Laden obviously involved in it. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny how even good-natured people will frame something, and I'm not going to be the dick where I'm like, let me teach you the microaggression. I'm like, I know what you're saying, but
what's kind of funny is that on 9/11 you had a work trip. You never tell people about that.
I had to go to Jersey to organize the rally. Where there was I'm chatting with my friends Lizz Winstead. What the Lizz Winstead
rally?
I stepped on that twice because I'm trying to keep my job. What did you say?
I said the dancing in the streets rally.
Exactly. That's it. Lizz Winstead. Now cut to the footage. There's Dean. It looks just like him. That wasn't me. It's clearly a nightclub in like Lyndhurst, New Jersey. I was at like a week before wearing the same clothes, chatting with Lizz Winstead and Pete Dominick. So let's talk about the fun things at Donald Trump this week. And, Trump calling for Democrats to be killed, to be hung. You would have thought that was a line that even some Republicans would have been like, that's not. Yeah, all these Carolyn Levitt literally said yesterday, they are literally saying to 1.3 million active duty servicemen to defy the chain of command. No, they're literally not saying that. They're literally saying only don't actually do illegal orders. But you have like John Thune, that the whole bullshit, like, well, that's not the words I would have chosen. I think it's slightly over the top. He's calling for hanging members of the Congress that you serve with, like Mark Kelly and shit. This is insane. I mean, I don't want to get worked up because every hour we can get worked up about Trump, but this really crossed the line. We're into the world of advocating death of Democratic members of Congress for what they say.
Well, I mean, loving the noose since January 6th, it's like they haven't met a noose they don't love. In fact, it's incredibly, it is a line that you're just like, there is no bottom with these people. There is no bottom that you cannot say, wow, this is rhetoric that doesn't seem right. And also not only retweeting that, but also putting swastikas and nooses, taking them off the offensive list. So you can just parade them around, piggy, like it's very Manson. There's a lot of Manson vibes happening right now. And I feel like, is he going to pardon, Squeaky from Patricia Krenwinkel? I don't know. The whole
These are some great references.
It's a mess.
Have to Google.
Patricia Krenwinkel is one of my favorite Manson.
That's a hard one. Squeaky from, I know, but what do you think, Pete?
I think that someone probably does have a list of how many people he's put on a list, how many targets he's put on people. I think it's very fair to say that he has made inferences and comments and posts that put all kinds of people in harm's way, and that he is rooting for them. I mean, that's hard to psychoanalyze, but he certainly wouldn't be upset. I mean, starting with, remember during the campaign when he said about Hillary Clinton, there should be a Second Amendment solution, or whatever that phrase was. Right. Then there's just any number of other people, from union leaders to his critics to obviously senators, that he has said terrible things about it. And then if you believe those things about them, that it wouldn't be morally wrong to hurt a person like that. He calls journalists terrible people. He calls people terrible people. So it's unsurprising that phony Soprano continues to act like a mafia boss who puts a target or gives an order without giving the order. It is so dangerous, but I hopefully will lower the rhetoric soon.
Well, and yeah, and I just want to say too, like, as your listeners know, and as I constantly tell people, I live in Minnesota half the year, and I'm going back tomorrow. Right. And my friends who hold public office there, who nary 5 months ago they were presented with an extremist who had a list of political figures and abortion advocates. And that person started killing people on the list, went down the list to their homes and started murdering them. And so many of those politicians and activists, like, it's real. It's not like hypothetical. This rhetoric is real. And in the movement that I spend so much of my time in, when you talk about George Tiller, or you talk about Dr. David Gunn, or you talk about, Dr. Slepian, the extremists created a moral framework around executing these people because of what they did over and over again. Bill O'Reilly participated in that, leading to the killing of Dr. Tiller. Like, this is not a fucking joke.
That's the best, most direct point. I was trying to think of it's impossible to prove that someone killed someone because of this or that. But when you don't know a person exists until Bill O'Reilly says his name, I mean, that example Liz gave was sadly not the first, but probably one of the most famous of examples of what we're talking about. That was Bill O'Reilly, a guy on a TV show. This is the president of the United States putting targets on congresspeople who, by the way, said don't follow unlawful orders, almost all of which were former military, by the way. And that's not a controversial thing to say at all. But then the administration, his mouthpiece, lied. They all are lying, defending him by saying that that's not what they said. They're all saying that these guys said they told active duty military to not follow orders. That is not what they said. And the lie itself is is also dangerous.
And don't you all feel too that the more angry they get about the fact that this video was made and the reason they're so mad is because there has been so much unlawful goings on that trying to get people to understand that. And Lindsey Graham, who literally was a JAG person, came out and defended it.
He's literally an empty barrel. It's not a great example to point out his hypocrisy. He's empty. He's hollow. If you look, you can see through him.
Yeah. But I mean, it's just like, it makes me feel like they're digging their own graves by being so mad about it, because hopefully it's going to be a reiteration of people to have to start looking at, why would Democrats make that video? And then when you Google, is the Trump administration, or is the military doing unlawful things? Google it. See what comes up.
I think that's
a lot of stuff comes up to show exactly how unlawful they're doing. And, just the DC lower court just ruled sending the military into DC, not legal.
But the other thing lost, and to the very point you're making, Liz, what we don't hear a lot in corporate media, and I don't watch corporate media a lot, but when I read about it, is the illegality of the military strikes off the coast of Venezuela.
Yes.
The UN last month, just like 3 weeks ago, had a big detailed analysis where they made it clear it's a violation of international law because it's not an imminent threat to the lives of Americans. And now we have reporting that the drugs that they said they interdicted, were not coming to the U.S. in any event. They were going to Europe, but it has to be an imminent threat to use deadly force. And in our medias, no one is probing this. There's been zero briefings by intelligence officials to our Congress. And the reason I find this out is by reading a bunch of articles from different sources. There's not things put together. I had a JAG lawyer on yesterday, Pam Keith, who said clearly what we're doing in Venezuela, off the coast of Venezuela, over 20 strikes, killing nearly 90 people, is a violation of international law. There's no basis in U.S. law or international law to do that. They have a few rogue lawyers write a memo that's secret, a secret memo that we've never seen that defends this.
Listen, you don't have to be Pam Keith or any other Jack. You don't have to be, what's his name? Tom Cruise's character in Few Good Men. Kathy is his name. You don't have to be a legal expert to know what they're doing. You can't just blow up boats. You don't do that. You can't. And if you do, you have to tell us who they were. You have to tell us what they did.
And why they were a threat to us.
The New York Times just did an investigation into one of the victims of one of these assassinations, these unlawful, illegal killings, and the family is broke. That's why he was doing whatever he was doing. By the way, anybody who knows anybody with a boat knows that you try to make money with your boat, whether it's fishing or shipping people or things. If you have a boat, you just have a boat. And if you can get paid a lot to ship drugs, you're going to do it when you're poor, and doesn't mean you should be executed by the American military. And that video that those members of Congress.
Do you have a boat? Do you have a boat?
I had lots of boats, and I was shot at.
You trafficked people?
I trafficked a lot of people from across the lake.
Okay. Okay, fair enough.
All legal. It was on the up and up. No one droned me. There weren't drones. I got hit by a knee board. But
was Jeffrey Epstein involved with this? Did your friend Jeffrey contact?
He loves a pontoon. Jeffrey Epstein loved
it.
Loved it.
Loved the party boat. The point. You can't do that. They're warning the military. We already had one high level retirement because at some point, probably next year, Democrats are going to take over the committees, hopefully, and they're going to investigate people who gave and followed these orders. So in a way, it was a warning. Don't do that because it's illegal, and we still believe in the rule of law. Some of us. It's a huge deal.
Well, Liz, do you think Trump, before he leaves office, pardons everybody in the administration? I mean, literally everybody, because for all the crimes they did, because he actually could do that. It's just remarkable.
Pacific Command.
He could do that for only federal crimes, but he could do it for all the military. Whatever you did, it's all forgotten. Blame me. I'm going to Rio, whatever. Like, what do you think?
I think that will be his plan if he survives his presidency. And I think that's very troubling. I do think that I don't know how you pardon everybody. Like, I don't know what the rules are around that.
That's it. He can just say it.
Jimmy
Carter pardoned everyone who would dodge the draft. He didn't even have to list their names. It was effective. A president has the power to pardon is unlimited in the Constitution. It's unlimited.
Well, he better pardon the whole Pacific Command.
He could do that. Everybody in my administration, everyone who followed an order, every blah, blah, blah. And that's it. And they go, so you could charge someone. And he goes, I was one of the people he pardoned. He doesn't have to have a pardon. Like, I was one of the people.
Regardless, that's a great question. But the bottom line is those congressmen, those Democrats, veterans made that video for a lot of different reasons. We talked about the immigration raids and so on. And it was an important video. And then the president of the United States said they should be killed.
I agree. And I'm dying to say quiet piggy to you, Pete, the entire time we've been on. But we're going to talk about that in a second. Because let's take a break and come back and talk about how is it that reporters get berated and no one else in the press pool stands up? And maybe there's a reason why that I don't get. Maybe they've made a deal. I'm not even kidding. Like, okay, we'll just take the incoming. Don't make ourselves the story. Or should they be standing up for each other when Trump is doing this? And not just because they're women, for any reporters that he's doing this to. So let's take a break, come back with more of what just happened with our friends Lizz Winstead and Pete Dominick right after this. And welcome back. Oh, God, look who's here. Pete Dominick, as always, here. And Lizz Winstead, great to see you again. So we saw these two incidents, one on the plane Friday, Air Force One. Trump says to the reporter from Bloomberg, Catherine Lucy, quiet piggy, because she asked about Epstein. And then Mary Bruce, ABC News, with NBS is there, the journalist killer. And she asked about Epstein. And he's like, what network do you work for? Fake news. You're a terrible person, a terrible reporter and all that. And both times the media reporters are around there like they just watch someone get shot next to them. And their response is, let me ask my next question. Huh. And maybe, I mean, Liz, viscerally, it feels like they should be saying something, but maybe in the big picture, that's not what they should be saying. I don't know. I'm lost here.
I think that they constantly wrestle with, is it better for us to be in the room and cover how horrible he is? Or is it better for us to stand up and say something and get thrown out so that there's one less person who's credibly going to say something? It's the only thing that I can think of. And also, Mary Bruce literally has labia of steel because she literally said, sitting next to you is a man who the CIA investigation shows chopped up a journalist. Like, she fucking laid it out.
Very good.
Bless her. Protect her at all costs.
Yeah, I think that the answer could also be like, what do they do? Could be if he insults a reporter, whether it's "go ahead, Piggy" or "you're a terrible person," whatever it is.
Wow, that's bone chilling, that impression.
The response should be by the next journalist the exact same question. When he attacks you for the question, the next person should have to ask that same question. Let him keep attacking everybody until he gets to one of his relatives that he gave a White House press corps. Until he gets to Lara Trump, whoever else is left in the briefing room, many of which are obviously sycophants.
Yeah, and they can ask about the marble used in the bathroom.
Well, that's the question. You can cover the White House without being in the room, the Oval Office. Reporters cover it all the time. Don't forget, they've all walked out of the Pentagon as of last month, including Fox News, because of, Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Beer and Tattoos, wanted them to agree to this whole plan where you literally can't write things unless it's essentially approved by us. So they all said, nope, we're not going to do it. But White House correspondents, it's a higher level. And I'm not immune to the real world, how hard it is to get to that level in corporate media. But if they walked out together collectively and just let the sycophants left,
what happens when reporters don't have access to the principal. I mean, it's Moscow. It's you never get direct access to ask a question, and asking this maniac questions is really good and important because, as you can see, he's like cracking up. I mean, he's losing it at some of these questions, and that's good. It's good when he attacks reporters because we see who he really is and always has been. And you want that access to continue so that he can continue to demonstrate this absolutely maniacal behavior that he lives with.
And just to put a finer point on it, Dean, I think the difference in the Pentagon is, I think these Pentagon reporters have very strong relationships with people who will talk to them off the record, who will give them information, and they can still get that information. I think it's very different with the presidency and with being on Air Force One, and to Pete's point, especially real time watching Caroline the liar and real time watching Trump devolve, I think is important. And I don't know, but it doesn't really answer and I do love your point, Pete. I think they should all ask that question until it does. And just to show they won't answer the hard questions instead of just saying you're stupid.
Sometimes he answers them after he does the berating. I mean, and then he gives the reporters more fodder to cover stuff. But I mean, listeners to the show who called up were very adamant, like, why don't you stand up for the reporters there? And I understand viscerally, that's my same reaction. If they would come out, the reporter, by the way, the White House Correspondents Association, as of still yesterday, didn't put a statement out condemning Trump for the attacks on the two White House correspondence reporters. And you're like, what is wrong with the White House correspondence?
Who's the president of that place now? Is it Eugene?
I don't know the person's name. It's not somebody
to some extent, that organization or any other reprimand in the moment loses its power because you would be doing it every day. But at how bad is
very jarring. The Quiet Piggy thing was it
Piggy
hit everybody viscerally. That was like horrible.
Is shocking. But if he says shocking things all the time, and what are we supposed to do? Like if he was like, quiet, you dirty, filthy whore, like at that point, would another reporter be like, whoa, that's a little bit too
bleeding from her wherever's. Like, that's pretty close.
He said about Caroline Leavitt the other day, he said, do you ever watch your lips? They move so fast like a machine gun. He said that. Those are actually a quote. He said that.
And look, there was something else that Trump said this week. They get almost no press, but as comedians, I think it's still important to talk about Jimmy Kimmel. He again put in writing he wanted Kimmel off the air. He said, quote, get the bum off the air and all this stuff. Then Kimmel responded last night, really funny, going through it, that he posted that at 12:49 a.m. Eastern time, meaning he just watched the show and he was live, that Trump had gotten triggered live, apparently. It wasn't like someone else. And then he said, he had the joke there about like Butch Cassidy and the suntan kid. Let's ride off in the sunset together. And let me borrow a phrase from you, Quiet Piggy. He said to Trump, that was Kimmel's lines. But if you think about it, I mean, in this 1 week, Donald Trump has threatened ABC's license because a reporter asked a question. He's threatened it. He wanted Jimmy Kimmel taken off the air because he doesn't like his jokes. He called for Democrats to be prosecuted and then executed. This is in 1 week, the president of the United States of America. If you read about that leader in another country, what would be your reaction about what kind of country that is? Would it be a democratic republic like our country? Would you think that was the nation? That's literally what this guy
Never
did this
have.
week. This is
You would
unreal.
never have a leader like this anywhere before or after. This man, it must be said, is an enigma. There's never been anybody like him. Never. And there never will be again.
Well, I mean, look, in other countries, I will say this: people disappear. The leader doesn't post it. The person just gone, right? The network loses their license, or like
in other countries, men who lead this way are not nearly as fucking stupid as this guy, because attacking Jimmy Kimmel, it's just so dumb. Why would you go after a comedian who has a writing staff and a huge platform so he can get the last word? He said about Jimmy Kimmel, why don't we get rid of him? His ratings are canceled. Gives Kimmel and his writing staff an opportunity to write 5 minutes showing Trump's ratings are way worse than Kimmel's. I mean, it's insane how dumb he is, how little he thinks about strategy, how impulsive he is, that he's always driven by his ego. And I'm just saying, Putin is nothing like that. Orban, Mussolini, none of them.
No, they take people out and they look like they die of natural causes. It's never on the media. Like, it's so, yeah.
But I had Patton Oswalt on a couple of days ago because he has a new special and he came through Sirius XM. And he was saying, he was quoting his friend, to be fair, but he said it's like open mic autocracy. Like, these guys are not great. But at the same time, I don't want, and it was funny the way he said it, much better than I did. But the idea, I don't want people to be lulled in the sense like Trump's not dangerous anymore. Like, everyone's like, he's a lame duck. He is very dangerous. He's still president of the United States. He can inflict a lot of harm through just executive orders, getting DOJ to investigate and destroy organizations. He's not done. So, Liz, when you hear people, you may have seen it this week, the big hot take is Trump's a lame duck. I'm like, I think he's diminished from where his zenith of his power was. I don't think he's a lame duck. I think he's still very dangerous.
So I think that the reason that he is even more dangerous than ever is not only that he is clearly diminishing in his mental capacity, right, but that Stephen Miller and Russ Vought and all of those people are filling that void.
Exactly.
At one point, Trump was being like, I don't know if I want to do that. That seems fucking crazy, a little bit, and so things didn't. Now he is literally an empty vessel for the most evil people. And
That's
as
right.
we all know, the Trump acts on things. It's the last thing he heard. And if you know anything about people who are suffering from illnesses to do with Alzheimer's or dementia, like, that's what happens. They remember a thing for a second, and then somebody who's got power to put that into motion, those are the kind of things that happen.
I think the question you're saying is, let's not forget this man is dangerous. And Liz just she took what I was going to say. I'll just try to add to it, which is, yeah, but his people are. All the people that are running each department, which we could name, and then we could tell you how they're destroying it and how that damages the public interest and the public health. So if Trump is not that effective, or if he's losing, or if he's crazy, and we start to think, well, he's not dangerous anymore, Russ Vaught's still there, and guess who else is? RFK Jr. And yesterday, the CDC announced there might be a link between autism and vaccines. So the damage that they're doing to public health, to the public interest, to education, to our foreign, to every friendship we have in the world, Trump might not be dangerous, but Rubio certainly does seem to want to have a war with Venezuela. Scott Bessent certainly does want to make some investments, and all those guys, Lutnick, all of them, they don't like Trump. None of them like him, but they are making out with whatever they want, including their ideologies, which are pernicious, insidious, and destroying America in so many ways.
Liz, on some level, the more diminished Trump is, isn't it better for them? They fill the vacuum.
That's exactly
Stephen
right.
Miller gets more power.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think we need to both of your points, to look at those who have formulated a domination worldview that is awful versus those who are the tools of Trump, right? But they're all fed through these dominators, right? Kristi Noem does not know fucking shit. She is told through the edict of Russ Vought that goes into how they need to do things, right? Pam Bondi somewhere in the middle. She's created and crafted, talk to anybody from Florida, a horrible, racist, Islamophobic, anti-immigration narrative, and she is a revenge queen and has honed that muscle before she got here. That's why she was picked. RFK, fucking susceptible to conspiracies up the ass, has a weird worldview.
I don't think that's fair.
You're right.
Why do you say that? You're
kidding. But, so I think there are some people who are vessels for the machine, but that machine still is the people who have terrible ideas.
Because what you just said, again, add to it, Pam Bondi is the Attorney General, and in her Department of Justice, the Civil Rights Division, which was created and whose mandate was to, generally speaking, protect marginalized communities, except for when Republicans are in charge and the whites become the marginalized community. Right now, that division is worried about the discrimination against white people and doing their best to erase Black history. So you go on and on into Secretary of Education and what she's doing, and just keep listening. And the damage that's being done is happening. We have to make sure that we watch it, stand up to it, and do everything we can to fix it at some point.
And I would say too, a roadmap for folks is look at, like, you bring up the Department of Education. Linda McMahon was handed the Project 2025 playbook. RFK has got a little of both. He has his own agenda and the 2025 playbook. But the Project 2025 playbook is all these places, but where you want to look is who didn't really come out of that and is using part of that because it's mandated and bringing their own brand of garbage, like Scott Bessent, I would argue, is one of those people, like Marco Rubio, I would argue, is one of those people. And so it's kind of like, yes, and Project 2025 to find out who the real evil monsters are.
And then there's just the others who are wildly unqualified for their job. The guy at FEMA who just left because he couldn't hack it, obviously. The Secretary of Transportation. The Secretary of Transportation is a complete fool who's also running NASA and had to, like, the head of the EPA is investigating chemtrails. I mean, name somebody. I follow stuff so closely, I could probably tell you exactly what they're doing and who they are to destroy our way of life every day. So it's important. It's really important.
And Sean Duffy, there was something he said this week, and it really is like
about dressing up on planes.
Yeah, it's like almost they're revealing the mentality of the 1950s that they want America to be run by. Sean
Ladies,
Duffy,
get in heels when you fly, so that everybody can really enjoy.
He made this argument that it's somehow part of civility. We return civility, make civility great again. And his exact quote was, hey, maybe let's go back to an era when we didn't wear our pajamas to the airport. We might dress up a little bit. You know, you want to go back to an era where, there was segregation. I mean, you want to go back to an era where there's Jim Crow and black people.
Fair, he was talking about Liz. I saw Liz at an airport once. She was pushing a shopping cart filled with plastic bags. I mean, clean it up a little bit, Liz.
In a onesie wrapped in a Snuggie.
True.
Look, here's the deal, sir. You want to go back to airplane travel where we dress up? Then how about serve a full meal with real dishes on the plane and have booze and leg space, and fuck you. Like, what does that even mean? This dude was literally the only transportation cred that he had was he was on Road Rules. He was on a reality show with the word road in it. That is it.
And if a UPS plane crashed when a Democrat was president, and the reason for the crash we found out this week, if you heard about this UPS plane that crashed in Kentucky and killed like dozens of people on the ground, much less everybody on the plane. The cause was that the engine had cracks in it. Hey, shit happens. I'm not going to blame Secretary Duffy for that necessarily, but you better believe if a Democrat was in charge, they would have made all kinds. They would have investigated and had oversight committee hearings on everything that they're doing, and they're just so inept. So many of these people, and the idea that they're in charge is what keeps us wanting to get prescription drugs every day.
But also, like, let's just really think about what Sean Duffy said this week for a minute. And this rapist administration, even when it comes to transportation, they're saying, but what were you wearing? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
That's good. That's good.
Just think about it. Like his idea of bringing civility back is returning to an era that's gone. All of this dream of a time that's gone and mythologized is make America great again. It's also the same promise of all the fascist and autocratic leaders. That's how they come to power. And like, yeah, you remember people just dress up like, and Sunday, wear your Sunday best. Like, remember when you used to go to church, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't know what I've worn to the airport, but it's never made people uncivil. I'm like, Dean's wearing a t-shirt and jeans.
I wouldn't
I'm
be
going to
so
punch
sure
somebody in
about
the
that.
face. Like, no one's gotten mad at what I've worn. I've never
Yeah.
seen anybody like they're in pajamas. I got to punch somebody.
Dean for sure doesn't wear shoes and has bare feet on the plane. I bet you that.
I'm Muslim. I go naked to the airport just to make my
Exactly.
life a little easier. So
Horrible.
there's less random. There's no randomness. I wear like a little fig claw. That's so. All right, we have one. All right, we have 1 minute. I want a quick thing here because you're both in the industry, right? At least Liz is. No, Pete is too.
Wow.
Fox News unveiled a brand new series this week. They were all excited, and all these celebrity names. Kristen Bell's in it, and Malcolm McDowell, and John Rhys Davies, and Brian Cox, who's a great actor. And they unveil it. The talent knew nothing about it. This was made 15 years ago. This company just repurposed it, which I guess you could do depending on the contract they signed. Fox News didn't tell them. So now these people are like, I had nothing to do with this. And I think it's amazing that Fox News didn't give a shit to even go to the talent and clear it now. And maybe just whatever they signed away 15 years ago. But some of these people were well known 15 years ago. I don't know.
I mean,
why
you didn't have to be a journalist to have fact checked that. The rest of the cast you didn't mention was Robert Redford and Chris Farley. Like, you knew these actors weren't signed on. Half of them weren't even alive. It's so stupid. It's
Was that true, Brett? What was Chris Farley? Were you kidding? I mean, some of them are gone. I mean, I'm sure there's a few really happy. I mean, maybe Stacey Keach is happy he's in this. I don't know. Michael York as Luke.
They're not going to go to them. It's easier to get a cease and desist than it is to get a no right off the bat. It's like, ugh.
You get all the press. It's a faith thing. Kristen Bell's like, her people talked to Rolling Stone and they're like, we knew nothing about this. Was 15 years ago.
Scott Baio's people were really excited.
But they're like, why am I not in it? Yeah, why can't you just do it with John Voight and Kid Rock as Jesus, a very special Jesus, and he comes out and sings. It's just like the Broadway show, the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat type of thing. All right, before we run out of time, Liz, where can people follow you first, my friend, and what's coming up on your plate?
They can follow me at Lizz Winstead across all socials. I have two big shows in the Twin Cities. That's nice. A year in review called the Winstead Files, where it's like, who's in my files? And we kind of go over the year. It's got graphics and video and everything. And then if you want to follow my activism, it's Abortion Access Front. And we are at Abortion Front on all socials. And I have a podcast every Friday called Feminist Buzzkills. Check it out.
Check it out. And my friend Pete, what about you?
Just listen to my podcast. It's daily. That's all I do. I work on it all the time, every day. I'm obsessed with it. I interview the best people, only the best people, including both of you a number of times. And you both have the open invite anytime, but you just seem like pretty big deals and hard to book. But I'm happy to be here with you. And then next week, I want to plug my parents' house. It's going to be a fucking awesome Thanksgiving.
You can be at your parents' house next week? Who books that? That sounds great. I got to get that. You guys have been great. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for